What's going on, Drinking Buddies? Brand new podcast coming right at you. But you know what we got to do first. First and foremost, we are brought to you by the Patreon at patreon.com/MattSlayer. The Patreon is home to the whole video back catalog, the uncensored versions of the video, ad-free audio. I'm sure you're sick of hearing ads. And all of it supports the show for as little as $3 a month. So why don't you come join the Patreon at patreon.com/MattSlayer. We are also brought to you by the merch store at anwd.net/merch. Have you ever wanted an art print, a t-shirt, various other wares? I think there's mouse pads even. Go to anwd.net/merch. Pick yourself up something to help support the show. And we have some pretty cool new designs and some new ones coming down the pipe in the very near future. So check that out today at anwd.net/merch. The last thing you can do for me, Drinking Buddies, is the easiest. It's super simple. It's twofold. One, spread the word. Share posts. Let people know about the show. Tell your friends. It's really costs you nothing. Takes a couple seconds. Just hit that retweet. Hit that like button. Let people know about the show. The other way, also super easy, is go to youtube.com/nowidrink and subscribe. Feed the algorithm. More and more Drinking Buddies come every fucking day. That is about it for me. Let's get on with this show. If you're unaware, I broke my own rules this week. Did a remote show. But it is a very special guest, someone I've been trying to get on the show for almost since the beginning of the show. You may know her, you may not, but get to know her. We have Stoya on, coming to us from Serbia. This is a manic episode. Oh my god. She was day drinking. I was drinking at like midnight-ish when the episode started, so very jet lagged on both our parts. We did have some technical difficulties, so there are some rough cuts, rough patches of audio in this, unfortunately, just because she cut out a couple times the international internet and all that fun stuff. And this is why I don't normally do remote shows. But I've been wanting to have Stoya on for so long that like the opportunity presented itself, mostly because Zach West and I made a offhanded remark about her a couple months back, and voila, here we are. The show was originally only supposed to go about 90 minutes. Obviously, we went over. So, sit back, relax, pop a cold one, and enjoy, Drinking Buddies. No, just
it's my favorite part of rolling video. Would you believe I'm not even drunk yet?
We'll get there. Cheers.
You believe?
Stoya, how are you? It's been too long.
It has been a very long time. I'm Schrodinger's retired person, which is why I'm here. And I gotta tell you, it's great. I do whatever I want with my hair. Look at this. Look, I've got this undercut. It's so. Do you know how much time I have back?
Oh, I can imagine. As someone who had hair to the middle of my back at one point in my life, I understand.
I say how much time I have back, but like it had never been above my chin. And I'm like, it takes 2 minutes to take care. I don't have to use conditioner. I don't have to do. I put the shampoo in. It takes like this much shampoo. I rinse it out. That's it. I move on with my life. I take the towel. I go like this. I'm done. People used to make fun of me because I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't come out tonight. I have to wash my hair. And they're like, but it's 4 p.m. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, but I want to see you at 10. And I'm like, yeah. Like, I'm going to have to wash it again and condition it and let it dry. And you can't blow dry it, right? Because you blow dry it like fries it. So I'm going to be sitting here in my apartment. You can come over. you can come over, but I cannot go outside with a wet head, and my head's going to be wet until 1 a.m. I have so much more free time.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then sometimes people are like, "Oh, you were so much hotter with the long hair," and I'm like, one, I think you're incorrect, and two, suck my dick. What do I care? I do OnlyFans. I still have the fleshlight. I do my writing. Like, it's actually more important for me to be able to like just like do stuff and be flexible and kind of like, you know, efficient with all this, like, you know, not brain things. I've had one sip of rakia and one sip of wine, and I'm already like brain, but not brain things. Doing great.
Oh, welcome to the podcast. We have time to go. Like 90 minutes is, huh? What's going on here?
So how are you?
I'm doing all right. Still in America, unfortunately / unfortunately.
Yeah.
Our crazy inflation has gotten absolutely insane.
Dude, it's over here too. It costs twice as much to get a taxi from the airport. I am personally very angry with Mr. Putin because I'm like, look, the cost of a taxi to the airport has doubled. The price of, it's not a gallon, it's like a 500 milliliters or something of milk has gone way up. Beef, and then of course, like the cost of everything else goes up along with it. And I'm like, dude, just because you got to do your like big man dick war thing, and now I have to like hustle more cock ratings.
Damn you, Putin! You're making me look at more dicks.
Yeah, I like Putin. Now that you look at the dicks and you come up with creative ways to tell them exactly what you think of their dick. You answer the question, what do you think Pushkin's dick would look like? Real story. One time a guy was like, I do not want a cock rating myself, but I want you to describe what you think Pushkin's dick would have looked like. And I was like, fuck, which one was fucking Pushkin?
I don't remember. I don't
remember anymore either. I think he was one of the anarchist guys. But he presumably had a dick. And I turned in some kind of like, you know, like consideration description of what I thought his dick would be like. I think I said it probably had a curve, but not like a useful one.
I'm gonna try to get a freebie out of you here and be like, not my dick. But what do you think Lenin, Stalin, and Trotsky's dicks looked like?
Oh man!
Speaking of Russia,
I'm kind of blurry on Trotsky, right? Like I don't remember what his deal was or what he looked like.
He's a very angry Jewish man.
Okay, I think Lenin had like a fucking chode, but like in the good way, because you know the stuff on the inside of the vagina. It's like the first like 3 inches is where the fun parts are, and then for some people, some portions of the cervix are also fun, but you don't really need those portions. I mean, if it's long enough to get there, great, but if not, you got all that stuff down at the bottom of the opening. So for me, a chode, I'm like, great, it's streamlined. Why have more than you need? It just needs to be, you know, nice and thick. Stalin, I really genuinely believe Stalin had a really small one. And I think it never, ever got like totally hard. I think it was always kind of like the texture of like a kitchen sponge full of water. And I think that's why he was like that. And Trotsky obviously was circumcised. Yes.
I think that's the first for the show is a historical dick rating. I think it's a segment we're going to keep around with certain guests.
I love it. Can I suggest the next time you have someone with a dance background on, do Nijinsky, Nureyev, and Baryshnikov.
All right.
Just make it trios of Russian dicks until you run out of groups of 3 along a theme that are Russian.
we could bring some other nationalities into the mix at some point. Like, we could be like Neville Chamberlain, Winston Churchill.
Oh yes! Oh my god! Do you ever have Tanya Tate on?
I haven't seen Tanya in a while, and I've been trying to get her to actually come to the show.
I would love to hear Tanya on Chamberlain. etc. Oh my god.
I think we just found a whole spin-off show.
Chamberlain, Churchill, and Prince Charles. King Charles, sorry.
I'm not sure I want to do live people. Live people could sue.
Live people could sue. Is he really alive, though? I think he's an animatron. For some reason, now Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire" is just playing in my head. Like, England's got a new queen, and it's talking about how much has changed. And like, it's been so long that actually they don't have the queen anymore. Wow.
I know. Well, it's crazy. That song has got to be, almost 40 years old at this point?
Yeah.
Like, at the point where that song came out, the same difference of time between now and then is then to World War II.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah. So,
we're gonna be dead soon.
I moved. Yeah. I moved to Serbia last March, March 2022. Took the cats, took my books, all my books. Well, this is just my book, but my books that I like to read. Paglia's Sexual Personae, which I may never actually finish, but I like to feel like I'm going to finish it. And I haven't been back to the U.S. since.
What made you take the leap and go to Serbia, of all places?
Well, first I got to ask this question. Are y'all okay?
That depends on which one of y'all you're referring to. I'm sure there's some y'all that are doing just fine. And they would like to keep it that way. And the rest of us, not so much.
Okay. It seems like a mess. So, I think we all know, hi, I'm Stoya, right? Where did Stoya come from? It was my grandma's last name. When I told her that I was making porn, she was like, "Oh, so you're a nudie girl." And then I explained it's video and like that. She's like, "In the moving pictures." She thought it was hilarious. But when I told her I was using her name, she was like, "Oh no, like I hope none of my boyfriends get us confused and try to bend me in half." But
she sounds like a fun lady.
Oh, she was incredible. But she was ethnically Serbian. Right, her parents had immigrated. So I always wanted to learn the language. And there's no Duolingo. There's no Rosetta Stone. There's no I think Colombia has a program in the Serbian language. Colombia is going to let me in with my mail order high school diploma. So it just made so much more sense to move here. And then, do you know anything about exporting cats?
Yes and no. Depends on the country. I know, my sister moved to the UK for a number of years, and she had to quarantine her animals when she first moved to the UK.
So there's the entering the country. But there's also just what the U.S. makes you do to take your pet out of the country, regardless of where you're going. So you have to like go through all these vet appointments and they have to be timed in a certain way. And then less than 10 days before your flight takes off, you have to see a USDA certified vet or USD certified vet, government certified vet. And then they have to take this like blue ink actual paperwork and ship it to the government agency where they stamp it and ship it back to you. And if it doesn't get back in time, then you miss your flight. The cats aren't going, right? So it's just this like nightmare. So I'd been through all the appointments and all the like timing, and then I was ready to start the like, you know, the appointment with the 10-day countdown. And then Putin invades, and all my friends in the US are like, hey, how far is Serbia from Ukraine? And I'm like, 2.5 countries, guys, 2.5 countries. Don't worry. So I went ahead and moved anyway. But we have all of these Russians who are fleeing that mess because they don't believe in what Putin's doing, all that kind of stuff. So it's been a wild opportunity, not only to begin learning Serbian, but also to learn how similar and not similar Russian is. And I thought some of the letters in Serbian were difficult. I don't make either of them really properly. There's also ch and ch. Yes, these are two different sounds. They're two different sounds. But Russian has this one that's like, it tickles me so much. Sometimes I just walk around my apartment like, something happens that I'm like nonplussed about in English, and I'm like,
all those languages that use Cyrillic and everything was just like way over my head. I'm like, nah, that's just not going to happen. No, I barely speak English.
I'm really good with alphabets. The rest of it, right? Vocabulary, grammar, but when it comes to memorizing an alphabet, I'm pretty aces.
Nice. So, what is day-to-day life in Serbia like?
It is exactly the same as day-to-day life in the US was, but also the details are very different. Oh yeah, the main difference in the US, if I went outside, there was like a 50-50 chance that some guy was going to do something weird. Not necessarily because they like knew about Stoya and recognized me, just because like men in the US, they have a grabbing problem, they have an anger problem, they have a what you fucking bitch, why can't you fucking smile at me problem. Or well, you fucking bitch, you smiled at me and now you won't give me your number, like just like whatever it is.
Some crazy entitlement.
Man, I have lived here for so long, and I've had 3 whole problems. One was a tourist who recognized me. One was a tourist who didn't recognize me. And the third was a Serbian man who just like, I don't know, didn't get the memo about social skills. I've been here for over a year. 3 incidents. None of them touched me.
I feel like that would be one day in NYC.
Yeah. Now, when a man on the street says I look nice, it just feels like a compliment, not like a threat. I'm like, guys, I've seen paradise, right? There's actually a world where the street is so not terrifying that you can say, hey, nice dress, without me taking it like a personal attack is about to happen. Like,
it's like, is this how it was supposed to be the whole time?
I think it is. the downside of that is if I want to sell my apartment, I'm going to have to prove that I am not married because my husband would have control of it. So the patriarchy is kind of like a mixed bag, right?
I'm like, thinking about just getting a husband for the paperwork. Like, he can handle it. It'll be easy.
No, literally my friend Mitch. I'm thinking about just marrying Mitch. We've been friends for almost 20 years. We had sex for the first year and then we were like, no, like we're done. That's like run its course. Let's be friends. And then we became like really like, like intensely good friends. And it's been a very long time. 19 years. But I have joked because I don't know if it's because I'm in like my mid 30s, but men just like the M word is it comes up so quickly. And Mitch was like, I feel like, because it happens to him as well. Like women are like, and he was like, should we just get married so then we can be like, I'm sorry, that position is already filled. You're welcome to be my boyfriend or girlfriend or lover or comet or whatever. But like, no, I already have a husband.
It's just that societal norm of like, well, you're supposed to have paired off by now. What's wrong with you that you haven't paired off by your mid 30s? Like, unfortunately, while my grandparents were still alive, like every time I say, like, so when are you going to marry and get settled down? I'm like, possibly never. I know that's a foreign concept, but possibly never.
Are you a monogamy person or an open person?
It's situational.
Okay.
I feel like open happens more often just because, like, I have a history of being a piece of shit and not committing. But I'm also not offended when the person I didn't commit to, gets involved with other people because we didn't commit.
Okay. See, I commit but refuse to be exclusive because every time I go exclusive, my sex drive just like tanks. And I don't know why. And I've tried to troubleshoot this. And then finally I was like, you know what? When I was like, am I allowed to talk about pre-18?
Yeah. I mean, it's life.
When I was like 16, 17, I remember telling people like, yeah, no, it's not that like there's anything wrong with you. It's just like, how you don't eat scrambled eggs for all 3 meals every day, right? Sometimes you want to have scrambled eggs. Sometimes you want to have a salad. Sometimes you want to have sushi. You probably want to have all 3 of these things pretty regularly, but you can't eat the same thing every day, all day. And in retrospect, I'm like, oh man, I've always been like this. Like, if non-monogamy is an orientation kind of situation, like there's some pretty clear evidence.
Well, and I feel like more people would be okay with it if it wasn't the societal norm. And the people be like putting almost property on their partner.
Yeah, no, I get the people who like it's not actually okay for them, but they want me so bad that they're like, gonna try it.
That's the worst.
And then it's, oh my God, it's so sad. And I'm like, honey, like you're straight. Would you kiss a man? No. Why would you? You're doing the same kind of like you're acting in ways that are not okay for you. I have to get a towel because the wine bottle is condensating all over my desk.
No worries.
I do not have coasters yet. All of these little fine details of life. I fixed it. Okay.
It's the same thing I say to people that talk about wanting to date performers. It's like, you really need to step back and really examine, are you cool with this? If you're not, don't potentially emotionally harm another person for your own insecurities. Just admit to yourself, this isn't my jam, and don't do it.
Yeah, no, just be like, I don't get it, right? I really want to be super cool, but in fact, I'm not tall enough to ride this ride. So it's like Banks's weaker girl, right? Like it's like, I think you need a weaker girl. I'm gonna need a bad motherfucker like me. It's like just admit you cannot handle all of this, and that is okay because we are, generally speaking, a lot, right? I am a lot. Most of the performers that I've known over the years, strong, wild, independent, atypical thinkers, right? And then you have the pressure of like all of your like friends being like, bro, how do you let your girl do this? It's just like, excuse me, what?
And it's like, I believe that she was already doing it before she met me.
Yeah, it's like not everyone should be a Navy SEAL. Not everyone should do CrossFit. Not everyone should date performers. Not everyone should be an exterminator. But like, God bless exterminators. I clearly there's a story there.
I imagine. I was waiting for it.
So I move into my apartment, get the cats in. The cats are all traumatized from 10 hours in the belly of a plane, plus customs on both ends, plus. And you can't drug them because if the airline notices your cats are high, they don't get to fly. And my guys cannot handle their high. If I give them anxiety medication, they're like, oh, what's up? Like their pupils are huge. They're wobbly. They're like, what's going on? Like, it's like they just took like 4 people's worth of mushrooms all at once.
I feel like you're severely overestimating how much airline employees care.
That might be the case. But I was not going to reset that 10-day USPS paperwork fucking nightmare. So, look, if I were leaving Serbia, I would drug them. But in the US, I feel like someone's going to be like, excuse me, these cats are high. It's not safe.
This white woman drugs her cats.
Woman the color of paper with not much hair drugs cats. Attempts to transport them across international lines. Did we mention she did porn? Oh, we led with that.
Oh, 100% porn star drugs cats. It's
yeah. Yeah. It's the porn star thing trumps absolutely everything, which actually feeds back into the retirement thing. You never retire from porn.
Nope.
No!
Apparently you die, though, if you drop out of the limelight for a little while.
No, you don't release a scene for like 5 weeks. You're dead. Like, people actually start messaging like, hey, are you alive? But you never get to retire from porn. I will always be porn star Stoya. And personally, I actually kind of like that. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm going to be wearing lingerie as outerwear for the rest of my fucking life because that's my God-given right. Like, I got to deal with the banking issues. I get to walk around with my tits out. What are you going to
do? I guess we should preface this a little bit with how this came about after years of me trying to get you on the show, by the way. Years, literal years.
I know.
Literal years. It took some random riffing and a random guest making an offhand comment that he didn't even really mean. So for the background for the audience who's unaware, Zach West was on probably 3-4 months ago at this point. Mm-hmm. And I don't even really remember how you came. Oh, I do remember how you came up in conversation. It was a really weird tangent. Basically, we were talking about the AVN Best Adult Podcast category, and I was being a little shitty that Guys We Fucked was nominated. I like that show quite a bit.
Oh my God! Okay. Sorry, yeah.
And
Guys We Fucked was nominated.
And I'm like, their closest thing to the adult industry is one of their ex-boyfriends used to date Stoya.
Yeah.
And that's how the referring to you in past tense came up in conversation.
Yeah. So, the guy in the Guys We Fucked podcast who dated me, we're still friends. He was like born to be a support system for unhinged artists, especially unhinged female artists. Yeah, no, so we're just gonna move on. But the Guys We Fucked lady is no longer on Santa's good list, is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I was just kind of, I was like, I don't dislike their content. I like it, but it was literally me being like, they have nothing to do with the business. They have no business being an AVN nominated podcast for best adult podcast. It's how that all came about. And then I believe Zach said something to the effect of like 7 degrees of Stoya. And it was like, oh, that'd be a fun scene. And the riffing went from there.
What if that's my next porn scene? Is like I don't actually do anything. It's just people within 6 or 7 degrees of separation for me fucking each other. There's just 5 scenes of that.
It's like they start the scene with explaining how they're related to you. They have to explain all 6 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, but the guy, what's his name, Zach?
Yeah.
So Zach then said that I was retired, and that clip went on Twitter.
Oh no, he referred to you in past tense, and I started riffing that you weren't dead.
Yes. And then I was like, "There's actually something really interesting there," because it's not that I have nothing to promote, right? I have my book. Look at my book. I have my fleshlight, which is my vulva in a tube. I also have the quick shot, which is like the little like pocket size. It's my vulva on one end and my butthole on the other, and it's like much more like travel size. It's another fleshlight.
If you're really good friends with somebody, technically you could live out your fantasy at DP Stoya.
You could. Yeah. I mean, you would have to cross swords in the quick shot, but you could definitely get like my pussy fleshlight and my asshole fleshlight and like put them end to end and DP that together while reading my book. As my dad would say, you ain't right, but you're great. For me to press, it's like, it's like, what are we going to talk about? Right. Are we going to talk about like the same, like, 20 questions? Or are we going to like, have like an interesting time? And so for me, it was like actually this concept of like the way that we are all dead if we don't release a scene for 5 weeks, but simultaneously never stop being a porn star once we've been one. It's really fascinating to me. I thought I was going to move to Serbia and be a normal person. Take a minute with that one. Yeah. I did part-time undergrad this year.
How'd that go?
Apparently I did so well. Well, apparently I did so well in the first 2/3 of the year that I don't actually have to turn in papers for the rest of it. And I'm still passing. Are
you doing part-time undergrad remotely, or are you doing it in Serbia?
Remotely. It's a university in the UK. But there's this, that was the first problem. There's this concept called common knowledge. It's things everyone knows. And I was getting points off. So like the first module was like arts and humanities. So there's this one part on like poetry, and there's this one poem, and it's about bats, and there's this bridge that's apparently in Florence, which I guess is in Italy. And so I looked up the bridge, and then in my essay, I cited like the bridge and where I found the picture of the bridge that I am basing this comparison of the arches of the bridge and bat wings on. And I got points off for citing that because apparently everyone knows what this bridge looks like. And I'm like, seriously? Because I'm a redneck from North Carolina. the fuck you think I'm ever going to make it to fucking Florence? I mean, I was in Florence last month, but it's because I'm a deranged person who moved to fucking Serbia and, you know, like went on vacation with a boyfriend. And I was like, oh my God, that bridge from my paper with that whole mess. So I'm like, okay, guys. So like, if what this bridge looks like is common knowledge, like, I don't get it. You got to explain. And then also coming from porn, like sex work is real work is common knowledge, but in the rest of the world, that's not necessarily common knowledge. So
which it should be. It's called the world's oldest profession for a reason.
Yes, it is a profession.
Well, it's called the world's oldest profession. God damn it! Like, how does not everyone know about it if it's the world's oldest profession? We're
the profession. I feel like a celebrity most of the time when I'm at work, but then when I'm doing dick ratings, I'm a sex worker. The one time I was sucking on my foot for 10 minutes and like drooling all over it, sex worker, right? Like it's the same with like immigrant versus expat, right? When my operations manager is translating for me at the gynecologist, I'm an expat, but when like the phone company calls me and I'm like, izvini, žao mi je, moj srpski nije good, žao mi ne, I don't remember the word for good. I used to know the word for good. I haven't had coffee yet. You call back in like an hour, then I'm an immigrant, right?
Well, it's like the joke of, yo, what's classy versus trashy? You know, depending on your tax bracket, it's like, you know, speaking two languages, hard drugs.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
everything is Schrodinger's something,
right?
Is what it is. And so this common knowledge thing like really screwed me up. So 2/3 of the way through the school year, I called the school and I'm like, guys, I can't do this until someone can explain common knowledge to me.
I feel like as an American, you should like get some bonus points. Like, Americans don't know shit about the world.
No. Yeah, mostly people go on cruises or like maybe like Canada, Mexico, or like maybe like Western Europe. And that's fine. That's
no, it's
really
not.
fine.
But it's not.
Our country is so big. Our country is so big and there's actually so much cultural diversity in it. And like out here, I'm saying out here, like I'm like in outer space or something. But
for most Americans, you might as well be.
Have these ideas. Yeah. But out here, people have these ideas about America. Like it's like all one kind of thing. And I'm like, no, man, I can poorly imitate like 15 different regional accents.
But we as Americans do the same shit. You know, you don't go out for, you know, say you're going out for dinner. You don't go out for Tuscany. You go out for Italian.
Yeah.
You go out for Mexican. You don't go like, oh, well, I'm going out for, you know, like, we don't look at anyone else's regional either. So,
you know what I haven't had in over a year?
Mexican.
Good Mexican food. Yeah. I tried one time. They put fucking pomegranate seeds in the fucking guacamole. I was like, what is wrong with you people?
What the fuck?
What
the fuck is that?
Yeah, no, but I was swiping around on Field and there was this couple that was like, hey, and I was like, hey. And then they were telling me like they own like a Mexican restaurant because the wife is Mexican. And I'm like, oh, I'm coming in next time in the neighborhood. I don't know if I'm going to fuck y'all, but I'm coming into your Mexican restaurant. I need some refried beans in my life. Maybe some carnitas. Like if you've got the cactus thing, oh God, the cactus thing. They probably don't have the cactus thing, but like.
I understand. Like good enough carnitas, I'll put out. I get it. But bad carnitas.
I would see if the carnitas is good, I will pay for it and I will fuck. But I wouldn't put out for bad carnitas.
No.
But it's actually possible that I will be so overcome by my happiness of having good Mexican food. And like I don't even care about the specifics. And like just give me a taco. Any kind of taco. whatever taco you please, just make it good. Uh,
That is the one fear of leaving America, is just like, no good Mexican food. That really just is a fear. It's a giant fear, because more and more as friends of mine are emigrating to other places around the world, it's just like, why am I still here? Why am I still in America? But then it's like, I would miss out on Mexican food. And also, where I would really want to emigrate, it's really fucking expensive. And I don't know what I would do for a living.
oh no. Wait, Sweden?
Japan.
Denmark? Japan? Oh.
Like, my audience will now roll their eyes.
I visited Japan.
Tokyo's my happy place. I've been 3 times. I love it so much.
Japan is great, but also, like, you will never fit in there, right?
And I don't really fit in America in the grand scheme of things. Yes, I know it will be still wildly different. And in the 3 trips I've been there, especially having someone who has tattoos, I've been discriminated against. I've definitely been kicked out of bars and restaurants. I get that. And I also know that there is no basis in reality of me actually emigrating to Japan. They don't want uneducated Americans. They super do not.
I'm going to push back on the uneducated thing. I get what you're saying. They want to see like a master's degree, but I think you have like a broad cultural understanding that is of value. Just not in the paperwork system, which is also, I'm in that position. I have a high school diploma I got through the mail, right?
I'm only like 1 degree ahead of you. I graduated through my high school's alternative night school, which was my way of getting out of Illinois at the time. Required 4 years of gym. And it's not that I was particularly lazy. Gym just happened to be the periods I like to ditch, because they scheduled our gym periods of first period of the day, one of the 2 lunch periods, or the last period of the day. Well, I don't like to be there early. My high school at the time had open campus for upperclassmen. So, like, I would just go take both lunch periods off campus. And then I didn't want to be there at the end of the day. Like, the last thing I want to do is get sweaty and then leave. Like, nah. So I walked into senior year needing 3.5 years, no, 2.5 years worth of gym credits. And I'm like, oh, if I transfer myself into night school, I don't have that requirement anymore.
Oh, nice.
So I was already working. Like, I was working.
In high school. When I was in high school, I was a magnet for balls. Yeah,
oh,
I'm
no.
going to leave that statement there for a second.
Oof.
Basketball, dodgeball, whatever it was, the ball would hit me, usually in the face. And we got around to track and field, and the gym teacher was pulling out the shot puts. And he was like, Jessica, I don't really know how to handle this situation, but I don't think it's a good idea for you to be out here with 8-pound metal balls. So I suggest, look, you're good at sewing, right? Home ec's doing sewing right now. Go help the home ec teacher. This is not a misogyny thing. I just don't want your nose broken, because the shot put is a serious piece of sports equipment. And I was like, you're making the right choice, man. Thank you. I'll be back when it's time to like run and jump over stuff. And he was like, cool. So that's what we did. But not everyone is made for high school sports.
No. And it's kind of unfair that they expect everyone to. The curriculum's not designed for everyone. It's, unfortunately, we have a very cookie cutter design of like, no, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do 4 years of high school. You're supposed to do sports. And then you're supposed to go off to college. And then you're supposed to join the workforce and be a good cog.
Yeah, and then you default on your student loans and have like a whole fucking problem in life.
Right? That's why I'm really happy that I'm wildly uneducated. I'm like, oh yeah, I never had that problem. Not a day of university. No student loans.
Yeah, me as well, because I'm like, all right, so I finally decided to try the college thing. And they have that common knowledge concept.
So what made you decide to go back to college anyways?
And until someone can explain it to me. Um, it was actually a like primary care physician. I went in for my physical, and the woman was like, "You're old. You can't keep doing sex stuff anymore. You need to like figure out like your like next career." And I was like, MILFs, but whatever. You're right. I don't have the tits for that. All right, maybe I should go to college. I found this program, and it's philosophy and psychological studies. And I do the Slate sex advice column now, the How to Do It column with this guy Rich Juzwiak. But he's rad. I adore him. We used to have brunch all the time when I lived in New York, and I deal in the column with like a lot of people's trauma. And I was asking like my therapist, I'm like, how do you deal with that? She was like, well, you set boundaries. And I'm like, it's my job. And then I was asking my psychiatrist, and he was like, oh yeah, so you get the technology about how to process secondary trauma after you do your master's when you're doing clinical practice. Have you thought about becoming a psychologist? And I was like, no, I don't think I want to be a psychologist, but there's a thing called the peer specialist program where they take people, doesn't really matter your education. They take people who have gone through their own like mental health stuff and give you some like basic like training in like person first language and like all that kind of stuff. And then they put you to work doing various jobs in like the social work process that don't require a degree. So I went through the training for that, and I was all ready for job placement. And because I have post-traumatic stress disorder, I qualified for help from the city as far as job placement. And I was about to be sent on interviews so I could get an idea of like, is working with clients in any capacity something that I want to do? And COVID happened, and the whole world shut down. And then I was like, you know what? Fine. I'll start undergrad. We'll see how it goes. So I figured out where to start undergrad in this philosophy and psychological studies program, because that's enough to set me up for the master's in psych. But really, I don't think I want to work with clients. I don't think I want to be a practicing clinician in like a social worker capacity. It's just that between OnlyFans and the Slate column, like all I deal with is people's sex trauma. It's like Nina Hartley's, like, I'm a nurse and our culture is sick about sex. I'm drunk now.
Yay.
But then along the way, like everyone's like, why are you in undergrad? And I'm like, well, I really need this special technology that they don't cough up until you're being mentored as you're doing your clinical practice under supervision after you receive your master's. And if I can just get through this like 10-year tunnel, I can get that information, because people are not going to stop dumping their trauma in my lab.
You sure you can't just get it off YouTube? You can get everything on YouTube.
Well, yeah. So then every like mental health professional who wants something from me, I'm like, cool, you got to give me a coping skill, right? You want me to consult on your article about mental health support for sex workers? You got to give me a coping skill. Deal? Deal. And I think I actually get the secret. One, there is no secret. Two, the secret is fucking take care of yourself in profound ways so you're sturdy. So when someone drops something that is like difficult in your lap, you are grounded and you have a solid footing.
That sounds easier said than done.
Very much so. But that's the technology that they give you after your master's. And all the details about how to do it are very personal. So, sometimes I have a glass of wine about it. Sometimes I just go to the park and like touch grass. Sometimes I go get railed by someone who like just wants to have like an egalitarian great time. I take a lot of baths. I nurture my relationships. I lean on my friends. And that's what you need to do.
I agree.
Yeah.
I would hate to think that like you go down the rabbit hole of this and take 10 years and be like, oh, they didn't really have any good fucking answers.
No,
like,
the answers are great.
You pull back the curtain and it's like, oh shit, this is the wizard?
No, it's literally the wizard is great. But you can pull back the curtain at any fucking time. And the anthology isn't out yet, but I wrote this essay about like my quest for higher education in sexuality because I have an alarmingly large platform for someone with a mail order high school diploma. But a lot of the people with like the good shit didn't want to let me hang out with them. And so I'm like talking about like Bianca Lariano, who lets me take continuing ed classes with her program. And, you know, like, just like whatever, like all these great people where I was able to find stuff. But for me, I'm like, guys, like we are all like sex workers are all on the front lines of our culture's trauma with regards to sexuality. And we need this technology. And as far as I'm able to tell, the technology is just fucking take care of yourself in profound ways. It's probably not a manicure, but it might be a bath, and it's definitely maintaining your connections with your friends.
You know, as well as I do, that sometimes is difficult to navigate while you're potentially a struggling sex worker. Like, I know people that, you know, they don't know who to trust, and it's like hard to get that footing if you don't know who really is your friend or who's just trying to get something from you.
Yeah.
Wow, I just Debbie Downered that shit.
No, but it's worth talking about because it ties into the initial reason that I wanted to do the podcast right now, your podcast right now. I'll never not be Stoya. I'll never not be this like shiny fucking Pokemon that people want to be attached to. And I have the friends that I made before I was really Stoya. All three of them. I have my dad, I have my stepsister. And I've got people I met along the way who proved to me that they're here for me, not for Stoya. You know, I'm going through a breakup right now. It's done. I think I've hit the point where I am done. But last night I went to my operations manager's place to pick up paperwork. And she's like, have a glass of wine. And then she's like, stay for a minute. And then her kid is like, let's play snakes and ladders. And I'm like, all right, let's play snakes and ladders. And like those kind of moments are like, I am like cleanly just a person here. I can trust my operations manager. Yeah, she's technically my employee. She also acts like my boss most of the time because that's what I need. Like I'm like, hi, I did the CEO thing by hiring you, and now I am a disaster writer and model. And I need you to like make everything function and tell me what I need to do at what time. So there is like that element of capitalism there, but I know my operations manager is there for me as a human. I know my best friend who I met like 7 years ago. We've been through so much shit together. I know he's there for me as a human, but most people, it's like, am I a shiny Pokemon Stoya? Or am I like an actual like human?
It's hard to tell. I mean, unfortunately, it's for anyone, it's trial and error.
Yeah, no. And for the survival workers, and like Lorelei Lee talks about this. She did an essay for N+1 in, I want to say 2020, maybe 2019. And it was really impactful. But so many of us, at times, we loved our jobs. And at times we hate our jobs, and we're only doing it because it's what we have to do to pay rent. and put food on the table.
And not to discount it, I feel like that's everyone's job.
Yeah. Yeah, but we have like the happy hooker trope. And if you're not a happy hooker, then you're like obviously a victim. But like business people or like you, like I don't know how your day was. I don't know if you want to be here today. I don't know if you're like tired.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm ecstatic to be here. The day sucked before that. The day absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I've been looking forward to this all day. The drama I've been dealing with up until this moment, up until I decided to, like, go have a cigar right before, recording, it was just like, yeah, this day could go fuck itself.
Yeah, because some days can just go fuck themselves.
Some of it is just the, my chosen LA creator lifestyle. It's just like, yeah, I signed up for instability.
Please no more California songs. I know you love LA. There's nothing left to say.
Fucking LA. But
I'm coming back to New York in July, and I hear the city is full of people on crack and heroin.
I mean,
and I hear LA is just as bad.
Yeah. I mean, LA's, it's rough. I mean, the inflation's insane. Like, I'm looking at, on average, between $150 and $200 a week for groceries.
What?
Yeah.
What?
You're looking at, like, I mean, this will sound really silly saying it, but like steak prices of like, regular cuts of fucking steak at like $13 to $15 a pound.
What?
Yep.
Sorry. I'm going to break the internet again, but what?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How? Y'all are not okay.
No. Why do you think I'm like, oh. It's a crazy situation when I went to Tokyo in November and Tokyo was like, oh, Tokyo's fucking on sale right now. I went out.
But Tokyo was $8 for a little thing of blueberries when I was there in 2011.
Yeah, now with how strong the dollar is versus the yen, it's insane. I went out for fucking sushi and like gorged myself on sushi. Had a couple drinks with it. It came out to like 35 US.
What?
Yeah.
Bro, move to Japan.
If I can only figure out a way to support myself there, I would.
Okay, after we finish the actual technical podcast section, let's have a little chat about how you can support yourself in various places. Because you're a squish. And it's actually like, I've done it, right, man? I've done it in Serbia, but I've done it. And it can be kind of a nightmare sometimes, but it's also a lot less elitist and scary than you would think. Like, it is worth a try. It's worth a try.
Oh yeah, no, I've definitely given it some consideration. Federosi's in fucking the Netherlands these days, and he keeps giving me like, you can move to Rotterdam. You can move to hell if you need crash space in Rotterdam. You can move to Rotterdam. Like, I'm like, Michael, I love you, man, but I don't have a international like porn law practice to fall back on.
Yeah.
I can't consult people like, this is, why this contract's fucked from Rotterdam.
No, but like I depending on where you're living, right? And if the dollar's really strong, you can actually be pretty okay. I could live off of my Slate column. I could live and employ my operations manager off of my Slate column. Whereas in New York, my Slate column was like not fun money, but like bills and groceries.
Oh yeah. And LA is utterly insane. And like pre-pandemic, I regularly said, like, I knew LA was insane then, but I regularly said pre-pandemic, LA was worth the price of admission. I used to absolutely love this city. Just not even the opportunities that the city provides, but the entertainment options as a consumer were fucking second to none. For someone who's like, I'm a cinephile, like the fact that we had a ton of art house cinemas, the comedy scene was amazing. And it was just inspiring to be around a bunch of people actively pursuing their dreams. In the post-pandemic world, it's not quite the same.
The pandemic broke everyone.
Yeah, justifiably so. I mean, like, if you walked out of the pandemic completely unscathed, something's wrong with you. Or you're fabulously wealthy.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
No, but like the people using crack and heroin in New York, I only saw really the beginnings of that, and then I moved. But I believe it's because they were broken by what happened. Like, social isolation is just like the absolute worst, like worst thing.
Yeah, there's a reason that they, internationally view solitary confinement as cruel and unusual punishment, even though we here in the U.S. use it regularly.
Yeah. Do not even get me started on the teen torture camps. It's not okay. I went through a reprogramming camp when I was a kid, and everyone's always like, my whole career, they're like, what happened to you that you ended up in porn? And I was like, no, nothing. And then in my early 30s, I was like, oh my God, those people who said they were trying to help me, that wasn't help at all. And they did solitary, and it's completely unacceptable. I am drunk, but I am not going to regret this in the morning. And it's solitary confinement, it's imprisonment and solitary confinement without due process for being what? Queer? Are you fucking kidding me? And everyone in the world went through solitary confinement, and we're seeing just how devastating the effects of that are. And nobody has the resources to help keep each other afloat.
Well, we don't have the resources. Hell, I think in a lot of cases, we're not even acknowledging it was a thing, like that it's a problem that needs solving. Like,
yeah, no, we're like trying to like forget it happened and just like move on. And I'm like, guys, nobody is okay. Clearly nobody, the world leaders are not okay. The citizens are not okay. The cats are okay. The cats are great.
The cats are sadly sober, but the cats are okay.
Oh, Pixel keeps trying to like lick my vape. I don't know what to do about that. I'm like, sir, I don't think you should have nicotine. Oh my God. I gave them their parasite pills. Okay. I have like 2 months, and then I have to go to the vet and get the parasite pills. And we're like, so, my cat tries to eat my vape. Is this okay? Is this not okay? What do I do?
Cat's a little addicted to nicotine. It happens to the best of us.
Like, he like wants it, but he hates it. And I'm like, this like looks like addiction to me.
I mean, isn't that most of our relationships with tobacco and nicotine products?
Oh my God. They let me vape in the airport here.
I mean, it's Eastern Europe. I'm amazed they don't just let you smoke in the airport there. Southeastern.
Still east. And we used to until we started trying to do the EU accession thing. And then they were like, yeah, we're fucking anti-cigarette and shit. And so the Serbia was like, all right, guys, you can't just smoke a cigarette. Wop. But
see, that
EU citizenship would be great.
Oh, 100%. And honestly, that is one of the things I love the most about Europe is outdoor cafes and being able to smoke at cafes, like out on the street in these ancient squares.
Yes. Okay, so the history of Serbia is one of being occupied by colonial forces. It was mostly the Ottomans and partially the Austro-Hungarians, and both have a strong coffee culture. So the legacy of those occupations is intergenerational trauma and cafes. I'm not going to say the cafes are worth it, but the cafes do like balance.
I mean, the
the men here are
intergenerational
so much more emotionally available.
the intergenerational trauma is there, so you might as well get the cafes. You might as well enjoy them.
No, and the cafe like balances because you go to it's a kafana where there's like food and booze and coffee, and that's like a safe space to have emotions. And so you go to the kafana and you have like basically like a group therapy session, but without a therapist leading it. And it's really fascinating. I've never in my life have I seen so many men like beam with joy and cry and just like have emotion.
That sounds almost terrifying.
No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful because when they're venting their emotions all the time, then they don't do as much weird shit and I'm safe on the street. I don't know. I was here for a year and then I was like, oh my God, I get it. Men are allowed to have emotions. That's one big difference. Fascinating. And I'm going to spend probably the next year trying to understand one facet of how men being allowed to express emotions changes the experience of looking like me on the street.
It's also curious, like, how the social dynamic, if that's acceptable, because, like, it's a toxic masculinity doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's like, I've definitely had women in my life express, like, oh, that dude's a bitch, that dude's a pussy for expressing emotions. It's just like, well, now why would I want to open up?
Yeah.
So it's a horrible perpetuating cycle of like someone's great grandfather who was some hard immigrant being like, can't show emotions, son, and that's just getting passed down, and then that being passed down to the other gender being like, well, I don't respect men that are crying, and so how do we change the whole fucking?
But I've seen so many men cry these past 15 months with joy, with sadness, with regret, with fear, with I'm gonna cry right now. There's so much more emotionally available, and I don't know if it makes anything any better or makes masculinity any less toxic, but it is different. And there is something fascinating to me in that. And I moved my cats here. I have my pile of English language sexuality books. And I want to stay until I rock, right? Until I like have some like inherent in my body understanding of this. I want to stay because my main job right now is to help people in their sexual relationships. And this different perspective feels really important, like really, really important. And I don't know what is important about it. I don't know what specifically is different about it. I don't know what the use about it is, but I know that it's important.
Well, it's definitely important to thrive for or have a goal as a society that like, oh, everyone feels safe in.
Yeah. That's that. No. That's the. So what is masculinity in the U.S.?
Guns and beer.
Yes. What is masculinity in Serbia? It is, yes, physical fitness. It is, yes, money, because you can use those things to make sure the vulnerable people in your life are okay. And the vulnerable people in your life being okay is what makes a man, right? I go to Kafana with my friend and he's like, hey, did you eat? Yes. Did you eat enough? Okay, here's some food, right? Have some food with your drink. We're going to do our deep talks, our therapy session. Are you still hungry? Maybe a little bit. Have more food. I'm going to have some food with you. And, it's really like the definition of masculinity is not about having the things. It's about having the things to use.
It's about being able to provide.
Right. And like the reality is I am 5'6". I'm 169 centimeters,
Nice.
55 kilo. When I had to carry my cat to the vet in the bag, and I'm like struggling with the cat, like a guy on the street was like, "Hey, do you need help?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm lost." And he's like, "Okay, you're going this way. Can I carry your cat for you?" And I'm like, "Yes, thank you," because I am small and my cat is fat and he's very heavy. And so, yes, I could use your help, because for you to carry 8 kilos of cat is a lot less of a burden than for me to carry 8 kilos of cat.
8 kilos of cat. That is a fat fucking cat right there. God damn.
He was really, really fat. I put him on a diet. It's better now. He's like 5.8. He was round. He was like a ball.
8 kilos for us ignorant
like
Americans. It is 2.2 pounds to a kilo, ignorant Americans. Just do the math. Do the math.
I can't tell what how many pounds is or what how many kilos is. Like, I'm like, it's all abstract to me. But the metric system does make more sense. But it's this culture of like, yeah, like, okay, maybe the gender dynamics are kind of toxic, but the reality is I am smaller. I am less capable with heavy things. And I'm going to get help with those things. And it's really, it's weird, right? Because I'm used to American men.
There shouldn't be any shame for asking for help when you need help.
No, and here not only is it like, of course you asked for help because you need help and that is valid. It's thank you so much for allowing me to help you. Because you could figure, when someone lights my cigarette for me, I barely smoke analog anymore, but when I smoke an analog cigarette, I roll my cigarette, I put it in my mouth, I wait. Someone comes in with a lighter and they light my cigarette and they say thank you. Why do they say thank you? Because I have allowed them to do something for me that I am perfectly capable of doing for myself.
I also thought it was the honor of being in your presence.
Thank you. But the core of it here really is you could do this yourself, but you let me make this easier for you. So thank you for that, because my masculinity is predicated on being allowed to be protective and helpful, and I really don't know that it makes it any less like sort of like problematic and toxic, but it's different and there's something fascinating.
Yeah, no, it definitely is fascinating. And I wonder if it's just like, oh no, like I wonder how it took Serbian culture to get where it is on it being this way. Like, how recent of a development is this?
Judging by my grandma and her parents, a lot of Serbian culture has been static for a long time. But I don't know the language well enough to like dig into historical archives yet.
I mean, one of my best friends is a first generation Serbian immigrant. Like,
really?
Yeah. Like he moved
Sorry.
here. Oh. He moved here like as a small child. So like, but like, he is probably the most generous human being I have ever fucking known, and like, will not, I mean, to a detriment to himself, will try to help people out.
Yeah.
Like, I've had to temper him at times, be like, dude, you are legitimately fucking yourself over to try to help this person. Stop.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and like I don't want to get into like the like vaguely eugenicsy, like, is it genetic, right? But the way that I was raised, because of the way that my grandma raised my mom and the way that she was raised, when someone needs something, when someone is a guest in your home, you give them everything you can. Everything. Because they're a guest. And like my best friend is Jewish, and he during Passover this year went off on like the like stranger in a strange land thing. It's from Exodus.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You know I'm technically Jewish, right?
I didn't know that. Your mom is.
I mean, both my parents are Jewish. I'm just not very good at it.
Okay, we're going overtime. I'm making a unilateral decision. So at the beginning of the pandemic, my best friend was like, "Hey man, I want to go to shul because I'm stressed about the pandemic, but I can't go to shul because of the pandemic. What do I do?" And I was like, "Try some like Zoom shul. I know some people, they've been talking, it's a thing that's happening." And he tried a few and he was getting bummed out. And then he asked me to come along on a couple. And I was like, "Okay, what's the problem?" And he was like, "Well, it's missing this and it's missing that." And I was like, "Look, I grew up in the charismatic church. Anyone who felt like a teacher, if the congregation agreed that they were a teacher, they were a teacher. They became a preacher. So I say we do a very unorthodox thing and we just read Torah together, right? We read Torah together. You teach me about the Torah. You teach me what the Torah means. And we do this together." And he was like, "Great." And that turned into like an 8-person phone tree during the pandemic. Every Friday night we would get together. One time we called his dad, and his dad was like, yeah, tell me when you have a minion. And I was like, "Do women count?" And he hung up.
I was raised Orthodox or Reformed, so you would have counted. Definitely would have.
Yeah. And then the next time we had a question, I was like, "So my dad used to preach, Christian, but you know, he's got some knowledge." And so we called my dad. So my dad became one of the group. And so it was this intergenerational, interfaith Torah reading every Friday night for like 2 fucking years. It was beautiful. And I can't, oh my God, I'm so drunk. I can't remember how I got on it. But it was really fucking beautiful. And I'm finally getting baptized. I was never baptized as a kid. I'm getting baptized in the Orthodox Church. But that time spent like, Orthodox Church is really chill. They're really chill. And the thing I love about Judaism is the questioning, all of the space for questioning. And the Orthodox Church also has that. Like the priest is like, "Oh, you want to spend like an hour talking about the details of this like one, fuck yeah, let's fucking do this." I know a former monk who's a bartender now.
That seems about right. I mean, the monks are responsible for a lot of alcohol over history.
Yes. Beer. Oh my God, the monks. Do you know? Have you ever been? There's this place in the Bronx. It's full of unicorn tapestries, and they have a garden that's like all the stuff the monks used to make beer out of.
I have definitely not, because I have never drank in. That is one of the 2 boroughs I have never drank in.
Okay. If you're in New York during my 2 visits this year, we're going to the Monk Beer Garden.
All right, I guess I'm planning a trip to New York. Shit.
Great. What's your September look like?
Hoping to still be alive.
Oh, America's on fire, huh?
Yeah, that's as far as I can plan at this point. Hoping to still be alive. I mean, but if I'm not, there's a $50,000 life insurance policy for the open bar.
For the open bar? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I have a $50,000 life insurance policy that is specifically set for an open bar at my funeral. What?
I'm going to do that.
Attend? I hope so.
No. I will attend, but also, that's a brilliant idea because I have to make a will. right? I'm the CEO of 2 companies, one in the US, one in Serbia. I own an apartment in Serbia. At this point, were I to die, I don't plan on dying, but were I to die, it would be a complete international nightmare for my family. So I have to make a will. And I actually really love the idea of taking out a life insurance policy for my wake. Because I don't have a husband, I don't have kids, right? So just like, all right, all my friends, you're gonna get trashed on me.
Well, and that's why I did, because a $17 a month life insurance policy got me a significant discount on my other insurance.
Okay.
As a multi-policy. So I'm not even with State Farm for my other insurances anymore, but it's just like, yeah, it's $17 a month and I'm going to have an epic wake.
Amazing. Is your dad Irish?
No, I'm full-blooded Jewish. And actually my Serbian friend is the beneficiary for my life insurance policy.
Oh my God. Okay. This one, I'm going out on a limb, but I will stand behind it. My Jewish best friend and I talk often about how Israel, Palestine, and Serbia, Kosovo are like eerily like echoes of each other. Where I'm like, it's not okay. Like nothing is okay on either side. But also, if you don't have like an ethnic and religious attachment to a piece of land, you will never understand.
Well, and at least on the Israeli-Palestine front, it's just like, oh, well, this is just trauma begets trauma.
Yeah. No, it's I'm Christian. The eternal trauma begets trauma. The original trauma begets trauma. Israel and Ishmael. Like it's just that's where it comes from. Right? Like my 2 years of Torah time. Apparently the Palestinians and the Philistines, like the Philistines were the original Palestinians. What? It all makes sense now.
Just through a modern lens, it's just like, oh, hey, we were persecuted, murdered, and now that we've through violence, you're a freedom fighter when you win. Now that the freedom fighters have liberated, like, oh, we're gonna just treat the people that were here and occupying this land before us like absolute shit to almost to the degree that we just experienced in Europe. Not even a generation beforehand. Like, it's fucked.
No, but like we have Kosovo and the border is flaring up. Again, but like more than it has in a while. And the Kosovo Albanians destroy the monasteries, even though they're like UNESCO protected heritage sites. And the people in Belgrade, which is the capital, mostly who I talk to, are like, just let them have it. Who cares? No more war. But the Serbs who live there are like, we would like to not get picked on and bullied. And I'm like, yeah, man, I back that. The only sane solution is a land swap, which is the equivalent of the 2-state solution.
Yeah, well, people aren't about that life. People are not about giving up land and power, and it's... You'd think...
No, that like, why did the people in charge just want everyone to be miserable?
Well,
because
they don't... This is, obviously unfounded in just my opinion. Because in a lot of cases, they don't view everyone else as actually people. They're just numbers on a spreadsheet. And who cares how numbers on a spreadsheet matter? How they feel.
I care because I know every number on the spreadsheet is a person who will fucking cry and laugh in the kafana. And I know the Kosovo Albanians will cry and laugh in the kafana. I know we will all cry and laugh in the kafana. And the stupid border being where it is causing strife. And if we move the border, it would just be crying and laughing in the kafana and not this flare up.
Yeah, but can't have that. You can't have, a blow to the national pride, or it's all bullshit.
It's such bullshit. And then like the poor Palestinians and the poor Israelis and the rockets and the like overexertion of force, and like how do you expect Israel not to respond with something that'll shut that shit down?
Sometimes they go a little overboard, and the problem is we as a species are very adaptive, but very fucking set in our ways. So in some respects, we are still in the fucking 1,000-year-old mindset of, oh, there's limited resources. You're not one of us. So we have to fight you for these resources. Like, that's not the case in most of the planet anymore. But we're still stuck in our fucking ways about it.
No, but I get that so hard with like sex work. Like, I'm like, oh, you took your tits out for a photo spread one time and you want my energy and my emotional help. No, you're not one of mine. You're not one of my flock. You're not one of my people. Right? Like, I don't have the patience for this. But then like, you know, like the person who's like really like done the work, I'm like, yeah, what do you need? You need phone calls for a week? Cool.
But the question is, with the person who took out their tits the one time, does that prevent them from exploring further sex work when you shut them down for them not being a full sex worker at that point?
Oh, maybe. See, I just revealed an ugly thing.
We're human. That happens.
Hi, I'm Stoya. I'm a quarter Serbian, but also 100% Serbian technically. I can be a flawed, ugly human.
Yeah, it happens. It happens to the best of us. And I'm sure it's not coming from a place of hate. It's coming from a place of wanting to protect yourself, protect your energy, and thinking what is best for you at that time.
It's coming from a place of triage, right? Where it's like, for money, I have to deal with this perfectly okay man's issue. Where he's like, how do I convince my wife who said she doesn't want anal 5 times into having anal with me? And I'm like, I'm not going to help you coerce your wife, honey, because what you're trying to do is coercion. And that's my job. And then I deal back channels sometimes with people who've been through like some real shit in sex work, really doing it. And then, you know, like my actual friends and whatever. And then every once in a while, someone is like, I'm a sex worker. And I'm like, you posed topless once. No. But it doesn't come from like a denigration of what they've done. It comes from, as you said, like protecting my energy. I'm like, there's only so much I can handle in a week.
Yeah, no one's expecting you to be the almighty Stoya who has infinite energy and infinite love for all of God's creations.
No, everyone expects me to be that.
Well, I'm not. I guess I'm the minority then.
You're not everyone. Of course you're.
Yay.
Honey, you're Jewish. Of course you're the minority.
Yeah.
The Orthodox Church, though, the thing I loved so much about my experiences over the pandemic with Judaism was the questioning. We question, we ask, we wonder, we theorize, we check, we consider. And the Eastern Orthodox Church also does that dialogue and consideration. But no offense, post Jesus, God is much kinder. So I'm really into that tradition.
Well, we never had a Jesus, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. No, Jesus was like an upstart cult leader.
He might as well have been David Koresh. I mean, all I know is Jesus had a fucking Tarantino-esque foot fetish, and I mean, why else would he be washing all the horse feet? Jesus
loved horns. He was totally okay with horns.
He loved whores. He loved their feet. I'm taking this to my grave that Jesus had a foot fetish.
My kuma. So when you get baptized, you have a godmother, and she's called your kuma, or a godfather, and they're called your kum. It's a very important role. It is the family that you choose in the most profound way. And my kuma, she's taught me how society works. She's invited me into her home. She's held my life together. She's very she is a kuma. Wait, how did I get on that? Oh my God, I'm drunk.
Welcome to the show.
Woo! Yeah, but she's also always open to questioning. Where I'm and what does this mean? And why? And why do we do this? And sometimes she's I don't know, but we do because tradition. And sometimes she's well, because of this and that and the other and these specific details.
Well, and I feel that's a sign of intelligence to, not be so set in your ways to be upset when someone questions your beliefs. If you can't defend your beliefs in any way, shape, or form, and you get upset when someone questions them, that's a problem. You should be open to new concepts, new ideas, and being able to articulate and defend your beliefs or be willing to change them if you're presented with new information.
Yeah, the Christian tradition I grew up in, it was actually not even Jesus, right? Jesus came, he did his thing, and then it was the Holy Spirit. So when you get baptized, it's the Holy Spirit coming and doing his thing, their thing. The Holy Spirit's actually really gender neutral. And so I'm okay, Serbian Orthodox, thinking about getting baptized. How does this work? Is it Jesus or is it the Holy Spirit? And she's we got to talk to the priest because I'm not entirely sure. And I'm I love that you don't know, but yeah, we got to talk to the priest because on the day of, when they're do you accept God? I need to know which God, which facet of God. Does Judaism have a Holy Spirit?
No.
What?
No, just have God.
What?
To preface this, I am also an atheist at this point, so I'm only Jewish when it comes to family obligations and meetings.
Okay.
As I lovingly like to say, I'm an entertainment Jew.
Oh, yes. That explains it all. And I'm for me, I'm look, you could just drop me naked in the river, but if we have to do this other tradition, I'm down for it, happy for it. But you could just have any priest jump water on my head and I'd be good.
Well, be careful where that water comes from. A lot of times there's a fecal matter in the holy water.
There's fecal matter in everything.
That's true.
It's so concerning.
Well, I mean, if it's in everything, it's just helping build your immune system, right?
And because my immune system is so strong, that is why I'm not dead yet. And occasionally still taking my tits out on OnlyFans.
I didn't realize your immune system had to, with the tits on the OnlyFans, but good to know. I understood the not dead part, but...
All right. Do we wrap up or do we continue into Insanity Land?
I mean, I am often a fan of Insanity Land.
Let's go into Insanity Land. Hold on, I have to pee. We're really sort of obsessed with and resentful of Byzantium here.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Oh my God. When the Queen died and all these people on Twitter were European white people and they're all colonists. And I was excuse me, 600 years of Ottoman occupation. We're in Europe. You feel like people tend to forget.
That Turkey's in Europe. Well, part of Turkey's in Europe.
Only a little part of Turkey is in Europe.
Yeah, but when it was the Ottoman Empire, a lot of it was in Europe.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
They just managed to, post World War I, hold on to the really important part that's in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Geopolitics. So, World War One was started by this guy, Gavrilo Princip. Do you know what Princip means?
I don't.
Principle. Yeah. Imam Principe. I have principles. So Gavrilo Princip, based on his principles,
Franz Ferdinand had to die.
Yeah. And that was his actual legal name. And that's actually how it played out. And I am so tickled by the fact that it was a guy with principles literally named Princip.
Speaking of World War I feel like America does a massive disservice in like most of our history classes on kind of glossing over World War I and mostly focusing on World War II. It's like, oh no. Shit from World War I still affects us to this fucking day. The Middle East being the quagmire that it is, was the British and the French carving up Ottoman territory and putting different ethnic groups that don't particularly like each other in the same artificial borders.
No, but it's so... During this year in school with arts and humanities, we did a unit on propaganda. And it was through the lens of Ireland. But as I was doing the unit in propaganda, I was like, oh my God, I am a porn propagandist. I do A, I do B, I do C, I do D, I do E, I do F.
Can you give the class some examples? Because I'm curious how you're a porn propagandist.
Yeah, so one method of nationalistic propaganda is to create a history out of the facts that lie there. Right? So I'm like, okay, so, adult industry medical was built for the protection of performers and to lessen producer liability. And this is where it becomes propaganda. And what it needs to do now is protect performers, right? You're creating a narrative. You're creating a historical narrative for a culture that does not necessarily have boundaries and framework in a sort of traditional way. And you're intervening to kind of like make that. I'm not the only porn propagandist. I would name people, but I don't want to offend them.
Well, I feel like almost everyone who's active in the industry is a porn propagandist to some degree. And that's partially out of survival, just because there's a lot of us versus them.
We're all doing counter propaganda. But at the end of the day, that boils down to propaganda. So I'm reading this unit on propaganda. I'm like, oh my God, I do propaganda. We all do propaganda. We're a bunch of fucking propaganda. We're counter propagandists. But control the narrative, control the history.
It's unfortunately
cohesiveness.
It's a necessary evil, because otherwise, how many of us and our peers have made a living will be fucking stamped out of existence and become unsafe and go underground. Because it's not like, especially when you can make OnlyFans content on your phone, it's not going away. It's only potentially going underground is what happens if, unfortunately, like, it's gross, but there are fucking children Snapchatting nudes to each other. If you can't stop that, how are you going to stop people who actually are consenting adults and doing it professionally from doing it?
Yeah, no, and it's it's really complicated when it's people under the age of 18 because that's the age we've set. I think it ought to be higher.
I definitely can see the argument for that, because it's like, oh, you can't buy a beer, you can't rent a car, but you can make decisions that are going to potentially negatively affect you for the rest of your life. But on the flip side, we also allow people to take on a ton of college debt and also join the military at the same age that we allowed them to do porn.
Oh my God, no. I spoke at Barnard, Take Back the Night, several years ago, like an embarrassing amount of years ago. I think like 8 or 9. And someone was like, what do you think about raising the age of performing in porn to 21? And I was like, all right. How many people in the room are under the age of 21? Basically, every hand went up. How many of you have signed up for a potentially crippling amount of student loans? Basically, every hand stayed up. Like, is that going to affect the rest of your life? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, man, yeah.
I don't know what the proper resolution is, because as it stands now, well, when you graduate high school, you go on to college. So until that is a not-for-profit system in the U.S., predatory student loans aren't going away. Or going into the military to get the GI Bill, or going into the military because you have no other fucking options at 18 isn't going away.
I have two stories. One being in Serbia and people asking like, oh my God, you're so smart. Why don't you have a university degree? I'm like, well, because I didn't want to pay 30 to 80 grand per semester for it. And they're like, what? Our colleges felt bad about charging €1,000 a year. And I'm like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Are you fucking shitting me?
I know. Hey, unfortunately, America is just like, everything must be for profit. Everything.
Like very, very, very for profit. And now I can't remember the other story.
There were two.
There were two. I don't know what it is. It went into the ether.
It happened. It happens on the show.
It's just floating. It'll come back.
It's okay. When it comes back, we will bring it up. But
look, it's and now we drink podcast. So worst case scenario, in like a year, I'm like, oh my God, I remember Matt. I remember the thing. You got to have me back on.
Oh no, I have to have you. Oh. Silly. Like, I've only been trying to get you on for like 6-7 years at this point. So.
What if I just become like a recurring, like every other year sort of guest? And I'm like, hello, I'm not dead yet.
I mean, you would not be the only like performer who has escaped to Europe to do that. Anna DeVille comes on every year, pretty much when she comes back to the States in January.
Okay.
Like she escaped to Prague.
Oh my God, we could do this in person.
Yeah, it's much more fun in person.
Nice.
Like I don't know if you know this, but I actually made an exception to do this remotely with you, because once things started opening back up, I went back to refusing to do remote shows.
Oh my God, I feel so special.
You should.
Yes. I am special.
You are.
In this moment, you have made an exception.
I have.
Yeah.
And I want to share, like, speaking of you being special, I want to share a amusing anecdotal story. I don't know if you remember this, but like, it had to be like Exotica 2011. I brought a couple civilian friends to Chicago with me. And one of my civilian friends you made such an impression on, he referred to you as Helen of Troy.
I remember.
Like, I mentioned you were being on the show, and he's still like, he is doing well. He is married, like, but he's still just like, there's an alternate timeline where Stoya turns me out, and like my life goes a completely different direction.
Yeah, okay. Oh my God, no, Serbia is so weird for me because half the people I meet on field know exactly who I am and are fans. I'm like, yeah, thought I was going to move to Serbia and do undergrad and be normal. Yeah.
How do you handle the people that know who you are?
Well, it's a weird thing about Serbia. They see me as a sex artist.
Well, I mean, that's accurate, right?
I think so. I certainly prefer it. I'm compulsively artistic. I wish I could just make big dumb porno. I can't do it. My heart's not in it. I have to know what the point is. What are we saying? What are we communicating? Why is this any different than the like mountains of sex footage that are available for free at people's fingertips? I'm an artist. I deal with sex. Me in Serbia, it's umetnost something, or art. I make art. But it's really like odd. And then I meet all these guys who are like, oh, hysterical literature. Or like this thing that you wrote that was done. Internet connection is unstable. Give me a second.
We'll give it a second. All right. Well, if timing is right, I will. I haven't been out to New York since 2018, so Jesus, it's been fucking 5 years since I've been to New York.
But my beloved Mitch is in LA, so I can come out and like do the pod, hang out with Mitch, get stoned, pass out in his bed, snuggle with his cat. Rocks. I
would not be opposed to you doing the show in person and me not having to fly across the country to do it. Not that I was opposed to doing that, but I mean, if I don't have to leave my apartment, I'm okay with that.
Airplanes are the worst, and it's better to come to where the equipment is.
It is, but I also love traveling, and like in the post-pandemic world, have not done enough of it. I was at a point where pre-pandemic was doing 1 to 2 international trips a year, and then that just stopped, except for me going to Japan last year.
Where were you going?
Different places. Like I've been on 6 continents. I've been to Cuba. I've been to Colombia. I've been a bunch of places in Western Europe. I've been to South Africa. I've been to Japan 3 times. I've been to Australia.
Okay, so Cuba, curious. Oh.
Cuba came about in the weirdest way possible, which was I read about going to Cuba in a Playboy article about 10 years before I actually went to Cuba. It was one of those things where like I read an article and it was just like I'd never thought about going to Cuba, and the way the writer described it, like there's no Americana there. There's no McDonald's. There's no Starbucks. There is no Americana because of the embargo. It's like, where else can you go in the world that is not an active war zone that has zero Americana? And we went there in 2017, right after Obama, like, lifted direct flights to... I was on, like, one of the first direct flights from New York to Havana.
Oh, wow.
And it was amazing. Like, it was just... The people were super friendly. Like, everyone is on a hustle there. Everyone. Like, there are no meters in the cabs. You just negotiate with every cabbie.
Yeah. How's your Spanish?
Poquito. I was there with 2 native Spanish speakers, but it doesn't matter if you natively speak Spanish or not. There are 2 economies going on. There is the local Cuban economy, and then there's the turista economy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only place I've ever been to that has 2 national currencies, too. So there is the CUC and the CUP. The CUC, the Cuban convertible peso, is always 1-to-1 with the USD. Sort of.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I say sort of is you can't get Cuban currency outside of Cuba, and there is a 3% exchange rate to exchange any currency into Cuban currency, unless it's USD, and then there's an additional 10%.
Okay.
And then there's the Cuban peso, which is actually what nationals are paid in. And at the time, it was like 25-1 for the USD.
Okay.
And one of my buddies hooked up with a girl while I was there, and like he went out away from the rest of us with her, and he's just like, yeah, she's paying a fraction of what we were paying for cabs.
Mm-hmm.
Or they went and got a room, and she's like, don't open your fucking mouth, because he could visually pass for a Cuban, but obviously the minute he opened his mouth, he was not. He opened his mouth, and like it went from being like effectively $5 USD for the room for the night to 15.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
So it's just a wild place. We negotiated, like one of my friends who speaks Spanish negotiated with this dude to get us a ride back to the Airbnb, and like we thought it was a cab, and then we just get in the guy's car, and it's like, no, this is just some guy who's like, I'm gonna make $20.
Yeah, no, the taxis here, everyone's super chill if you're just going from like one place to another, but if it's like a train station, then you're marked as a tourist. And I've actually been in a taxi where they quote me one price, which is ridiculous. And then during the taxi ride, I'm like, da, moja baka, bili je Srpkinja. My grandmother was Serbian, želela sam da učim srpski. I wanted to learn Serbian. Nemam Rosetta Stone, nemam Duolingo. We didn't have Rosetta Stone. We didn't have Duolingo. Samo da živim ovde, da učim, only to live here, to learn. And by the time I get out, the taxi's half the price. And like, it's just like, what? This is reverse nationalism.
Well, it's like, got to take care of our own,
Yeah, I know. By the end, they're like, Nasha, like ours. They'll practically pat me on the back, literally.
On the Cuba front, I recommend everyone goes there. Like it's
I would like to go there, and I actually can with my Serbian passport.
I think you can still go with a U.S. passport. You just have to register with the State Department and why you're going.
Yeah, but like, why am I going? For funsies.
Well, support of the Cuban people is a legitimate reason, according to the State Department.
Oh, okay. I support Cuba. They're very socialist. I love socialism.
I technically went for journalism. I recorded 2 podcasts that I never aired down there. And I was there
with
the
podcast.
Me and my friends being drunk at our Airbnb.
Okay.
I brought all my gear down there, and I legitimately recorded 2 podcasts down there. Just, my friends are not necessarily entertainers, and they were not necessarily good, so I never actually aired them. But also,
okay.
2 of my friends that were with us were professional photographers and took a lot of photos while we were down there. And like the group I went with, 10 of us went. Like we got a Airbnb that was like 11 bedroom, 10 bath with a pool for like $540 US a night. Yeah.
Okay.
And it came with a staff. Like at night, there were 2 guys that were security / bartenders for us. And in the morning, someone from the house would make us breakfast at like the cost of $7 US for the full breakfast, like freshly squeezed fruit juice. Like I was like, wow, like I'm not sure I'm in this tax bracket. Like,
yeah, you're like, I'm not used to being like treated like this much of a princess. It's not okay.
It's not okay. And like it was a good time. Like, but it was absolutely like just a wild place. Like one of my friends, they ran out from the Airbnb to go grab food for everybody. They ended up in some guy's garage buying like bootleg rum out of some dude's garage. Like they're walking through the neighborhood and like they see a garage door open and people walk in, the garage door closes, and a couple minutes later they come out. They're like, so they go to explore, and it was bring your own bottle and he will fill it with rum for you. For like, we filled like a 2-liter of rum for the equivalent of $1.75 US. And they all took a taste of it. And he's like, if you go blind, it's on you.
Yeah. No, here, like, people's, like, mothers and uncles make the good rakia. And you are gambling with your eyesight. But it comes in, like, an empty Coke bottle. This is, like, a Coke bottle full of, like, clear liquid. And it's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. It's so good. It's so good. There's no hangover. It's so good. You can get, like, so drunk, like pouring drunk. Like, you can't tell the difference between good and evil drunk. And wake up at 9 a.m. the next day, like, all right, let's go. Let's do shit. It's so good. But it's also like, whoo! They're like, yeah, I don't know really what I'm doing. I have no training. And you're like, okay. But I bring, whenever I find something special, I'll fill up a flask or like a little water bottle and bring it to my dad. And he has a whole collection of Serbian alcohols.
Is your dad back in the States, or?
He's in the States. He's American. He's in the States. Doesn't even have a passport, so I have to go there, right?
Should at least encourage him to get a passport.
Oh God. So in Serbia, there's this thing called fatijedan pa. It's short for faletijedan papir. You're missing one paper. My dad is missing one paper for his passport in the US, and it's a weird paper. And I don't know what the deal is because he used to have a passport. So when I go in July, I'm hoping to figure out his passport situation so he can maybe come visit me. But also, it's for me, I'm a freelance writer. It's easy to get on a plane and go to the US. But for him, you know, he has a day job. It's harder. But I would like him to see Serbia.
Well, yeah, it's harder, but it's not impossible.
No, it's just fatijedan pa. He's missing a paper.
Well, hopefully we can find that paper for him.
Yes, but also we have to find your paper for Japan. We have to find your thing that makes you accessible to Japan.
My heart is not, I mean, like, I love Japan. I love visiting there. My audience is rolling their fucking eyes because every time I bring them up Japan, like, I'm not sure that, like, that would be the final destination. Like, I don't know where I'd like other people, like, shit, I don't know if this, I'm assuming this is public knowledge at this point. I'll have to edit it out if it's not. But, like, Xander Corvus is in fucking Portugal now. Xander just bailed to Portugal recently.
Okay, why Portugal?
Easy entrance into the EU. They have a pretty low barrier of entry. And Federosi's in Rotterdam. So, like, and another, like, civilian friend of mine, like, has been doing the whole digital nomad thing. She ended up from Moldova to Paris to London right now.
Okay.
So I have a bunch of people in my life that are doing it. It's just like, like, on one hand, it's tempting, but it's also the reality of the situation is, like, this podcast kind of goes away if I leave the States, especially if I leave LA.
No, you just do it more remotely.
It sucks remotely. Like, I'm having fun right now, but when you do one in person, you will see that the energy is just better doing it in person.
Okay, well, I'm going to come do one in person, like, alarmingly soon, and you're going to be like, fuck, how do I release 2 Stoya podcasts, like, within, like, 6 fucking months? This is bullshit. But you're going to do it anyway.
I don't think it will be bullshit. I mean, you know, you're apparently Helen of Troy, so, like, how could I be upset with, you know, putting 2 out?
Stoya of Troy, but my dad's name is literally Troy.
So it works?
Yeah. Yeah. No, my name in Serbian is Jessica, which is pronounced Jesica. And Itza is like a cute diminutive. So you have Machak, which is cat, and Machkitza, which is kitten. So I'm like little Jessica. Yes, Itza. Yes, Itza. Middle name Troy. Middle name, and then my last name. That is my full name. Is my first name Yesitsa, and then my middle name, and then my dad's first name, and my dad's middle name, and then my last name. And it's all very ridiculous and completely unhinged. And my mother is not even dead yet, but she's spinning in her grave that I am little Yes. But it's very appropriate because I am often up for like basically anything. Like I'm like, yeah, sounds weird. Let's do it. Like,
well, but that's how life should be. Eventually, we're all gonna go to our fucking deathbed, and I would rather regret the things I missed out on than the things I didn't do. Like the things I did. So, alcohol on that statement.
You talk to people. There have been studies where people talk to people in their like 60s or 70s or 80s and they're dying. And it's like, what do you regret? They never regret the chances they took. They regret the things they didn't try for.
Yeah, we're not shit into this world to just, pump out 2.5 children and be mediocre.
No. And I am thrilled as a mad aunt. The woman who was like my like surrogate mom when I was a kid, when I was like in my like late teens, she has like an actual biological child of her own now. He doesn't speak English. And she was like expressing to me that that's like really hard. And she's trying all these different, like, maybe he'll like this kind of communication, maybe he'll like that kind. And I was like, hey, do you want to try Serbian? And she's like, yeah, I'll do it. And she's like, okay. So I went to my operations manager's house. I was like, what is the kid like? And she's like, the ocean and grandma's. And I'm like, cool. So I got some baby books. Went to my operations manager's house. I'm like, hey, my pronunciation is garbage. I sound like I'm from the village. You're going to help me. And I went through the alphabet first, like A, B, C, D, E, so on and so forth. And then I read the book, and Lydia helped me. And then I sang the alphabet and the reading of the book, like, like holding the book, like a PBS special, like holding the book, reading the book. And I sent that to my friend, and my friend was like, oh my God, the kid was so calm. And I'm like, fuck yes. I know someone who speaks Spanish fluently, and they have the same like nya sound. Let's try that. I'll think of other languages. Like, let's just like try literally every language in the world that I can get someone to try until we find something where the kid is like, fuck yes, this is the language I will talk. And it's really like, it made me so happy. And then this woman who had been like my mom when I was a teenager, she was like, this is how you support the mothers of neurodiverse kids. And I was like, I'm crying right now. I'm crying. Because I really was crying. But I don't know how I got on this. But my point here is everyone deserves someone who's going to reach them where they are, or try to.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
I think we got here on the, life's not just about, being a cog in the big wheel and pumping out 2.5 children. And just
no, but I don't want to have children, but I'm happy to be a mad aunt. I'm hello, right there. Would you like me to read a baby book in Serbian?
I'm right there with you. I'm trying to be a cool uncle whenever I see my niece. Like, I had a vasectomy last year. I'm not having kids.
Oh my God, chesty tap! Congratulations.
Oh, not only did I have one, I filmed it for YouTube.
Yes, yes. Mitch, my friend of like 19 years, he just had one because of all the abortion stuff happening. And yeah, I'm getting an IUD put in.
It was the move. Like, I decided a long time ago, I think I'd be a horrible father, so I do not need to bring someone into this world to prove myself right.
Oh my God, no, I'm too flaky to be a mom. I'm a great aunt. I'd be a shit mom. I know my I know my role. I'm happy to stay in my lane.
More people need to, like, understand that, besides, like, the societal norm of, like, I have to pump out children. Like, if you're going to bring someone into this world and you're both going to be miserable and you're going to traumatize this person you brought into this world, you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. Because it's also like I feel like we have enough people,
Oh, we definitely have enough people.
and I'd rather be supplementary to a kid that already exists than like create my own kid and be bad at it.
Right?
Right?
Like, I don't know. Like, I know on my end, like, on the financial front, it's just like, my groceries are almost $200 a week. Oh, now I'm responsible for feeding another human? How are we gonna do this?
And like I have the money, but I don't have the time. And so I'm like, imagine I'm like, yeah, your nanny takes care of you, and I see you like every 3 days.
And,
And
and anecdotally, every celebrity's child I've ever fucking dealt with, every, like,
Mhm.
never had to want for anything in the world celebrity's kid I've ever dealt with while living in LA has been the worst fucking people. So, like, years and years and years ago, I thought, like, oh, well, if I ever get well to do, then I'll have kids. And then I'm like, oh, no, no. I would then just be raising horror. Like, it's a lose lose. I would raise horrible people no matter how I went about it.
Yeah,
It'd just be different
no,
horrible.
I would probably raise great people who would feel very, very neglected. And that's like a recipe for like Stalin. Like it's not good.
And his limp dick.
Oh my God, Stalin's tiny pinky finger sized spongy cock that never gets fully hard, and that's why he was such a nightmare. You wouldn't believe being here and hearing from the people who grew up in the USSR, Stalin was a fucking nightmare. We cannot understand the depths of nightmare that little Stalin, little sad limp dick spongy cock Stalin was.
Well, and that's the thing. Stalin killed a lot more people than Hitler. He just did it to his own people, so people kind of, it's fine.
No. Oh, his name starts with an R. It's not Rudy Gernrich. Rudy Gernrich was the topless bikini guy.
Very different.
But yeah, but there was this guy who kind of coined the term genocide. And he studied Stalin. He studied what Stalin did in Ukraine and all that kind of stuff. It was god awful. It was horrible. And that's another thing I love about Judaism, which is the ultimate preservation of human existence.
I don't know if it's so much in practice these days.
I don't know if Netanyahu like is really a believer. Every world leader has gone insane.
I don't know if they weren't all insane to begin with and were just more exposed to it.
That's maybe true.
You gotta be a special kind of person to be like, you know what? I want to rule everyone I know. I want to be in charge of everyone I know.
Yeah, and for me, like I don't want to be in charge of shit. I don't even want to be in charge of my companies, but yet I am. But I hire these operations managers to like actually do the in charge things. And then I can be like, woo, I'm an artist. But like once every quarter I have to be CEO. But mostly, woo, I'm an artist.
Sounds ideal. That absolutely sounds ideal.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's really great. So I'm retired, but I'm doing some good fucking shit. I actually, hold on. I want to text you. I'm going to put it, where's the chat? I'm sending you, yes. Take a look at these pictures. They're shitty low res.
Okay. I will have to look at them, because if I look at them right now, they will be recorded by the screen grab, so I will not.
Oh no, record.
Okay. Well, is this going to get me kicked off YouTube?
No.
Oh.
Nothing's like nude.
All right. I mean, that one definitely looks like I may have to censor it in post, the top center. Maybe.
No, everything's covered. There's at least 2 pairs of underwear top center.
I'm just saying YouTube may disagree with you.
Oh no. Okay. Blur it if you have to.
I mean, I don't want to. Believe me, I don't want to.
I know. But if you have to blur it, I get it. But that was a Russian photographer who does boudoir stuff a lot. And she's always trying to help women break out of like the girl next door, MILF, manic pixie dream girl, dominatrix kind of like box. And I was like, do you know the showgirl? And she was like, no, but I think I want to. And I'm like, great. So her English is slow, right? She understands, but it's slow. So I wrote her 2,200 words on the archetype of the showgirl. And then we made these pictures. And like that's the kind of stuff I'm doing now. It's this like emotional, like just like wild, like all these like layers of like back and forth, like artistic collaboration. It's cool.
That's amazing. That's fucking amazing. Like, I'm ecstatic for you. Like the fact that like you get to go fucking make the art you want to make. That's fucking awesome.
No, it's so good. It's so good. And I don't think Serbia is the answer for everyone. I don't think getting out of the US is the answer for everyone. I think some people need to stay in the US and try to fix that shit.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot more work than I'm willing to put in.
only the people who have a drive to should stay and try to fix.
The problem is the people that have a drive to try to fix, I don't think they want to fix it in the same way that we want to fix it.
It's depressing. All right, I'm gonna go now in July and then September and like get in, get out while it's still kind of not completely horrifying.
A little late for that.
Oh, I've got a hiccup. I drank the whole.
One whole bottle of wine. I mean, I killed however much whiskey was left in here.
O pičko ti mačinu. Idemo peršun. Go back to your mother's pussy. I'm going to the parsley.
I don't think either one of us would appreciate that.
No. So o pičko ti mačinu is like when you do something stupid and it's like, oh my God, honey, you're half cooked. Just go home.
Yeah, I'm fine.
And then ide o peršun is like this like slang that's like kind of soft because it's go back to the parsley, which is just like, it's just like less offensive. But yeah, idem upershun. I'm going back to the parsley. I'm gonna take a nap. I'm gonna like. It's 11:30 a.m. for me. I'm going to take a nap and then I'm going to tackle my column and be like, okay, here's how you make a woman come.
That sounds amazing. It was a blast. Well, I know we were originally going to do this like an hour less than we did.
Yeah, like an hour less. Okay, stop recording.
No. Before we stop recording, where can they find you? Where can they find your articles or where can they find your things?
Oh, okay. So slate.com/HTDI is where they can find my sex advice column. There's a paywall after like, I don't know, like 5 articles or something. So if you read 5 and you're hooked, just fucking sign up and pay for the shit. It's good. It's good shit. I promise you it's good shit. onlyfans.com/Stoya. I take my tits out. I show my bush. I do art nudes. I had really good period boobs the other day. So I did this like jiggling video. I'm going to send that out as like a pay-per-view in a minute. And then fleshlight.com/Stoya, you can buy an actual representation of my vagina and fuck it. And you can think about anything you want to. You can be like, oh yeah, who does this bitch think she is? Or you can be like, oh yeah, I'm fucking Stoya with her fucking brain. Like whatever works for you. It's cool. It's like,
I mean, these days you'd be like, I'm fucking Euro pussy.
Yeah, I'm fucking a marrow Euro pussy. I've got my dick buried balls deep in a marrow Euro pussy. Yeah. Americanka Serbian. Yeah. Oh, it does it for me. Oh. And you know, Twitter and Instagram, Blue Sky, whatever, Stoya.
Well, hell yeah. It was a fucking blast. Like, this was definitely worth the fucking 6 years plus in the making. We will definitely do one in person when you're in the States. I'm going to hold you to that.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Because it will be much more ridiculous in person. I promise you.
I'll bring Rakia, but not the bourbon shit, like the like raw shit.
I mean, if I go blind on this show, it's something that people have been predicting for years, so.
No, I'll bring like manufactured. Like
Boo.
Hey, I'm gonna bring you the good dangerous shit that might give you dropsy.
Perfect.
Great.
Well, we're going to stop recording now. And until next week, motherfuckers, drink up. I just fucked up my own sign off. Later.
I did. Ciao.